Introduction: The Time of Titans and Fire. Long before the rise of modern civilization, long before the first cities, the world was ruled not by humans, but by gods, towering, immortal beings who shaped the earth, the sky, and the stars. Among them were the Titans, ancient forces of nature, vast and unknowable. But from this powerful and primal world, a different figure emerged. A Titan, yes, but unlike the others, a being not driven by domination or destruction, but by compassion. His name was Prometheus. To the Greeks, Prometheus was more than a character in myth. He was a symbol, a rebel, a giver of fire, a protector of mankind in a time when humanity was small, fragile, and forgotten. This is the story of how one Titan defied the king of the gods, Zeus himself, to bring the gift of fire to humanity. But fire was more than a flame. It was knowledge, it was power, and it was dangerous. Prometheus would pay a terrible price for his defiance, but through his pain, humanity would rise. So, if you're ready, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and journey back to the time of gods, mountains, and fire. Let us begin the myth of Prometheus.
Who was Prometheus, the Titan who cared? Prometheus was one of the Titans, the generation of deities who came before the Olympian gods. Born of Iapetus and the ocean nymph Clymene, he was brother to Atlas, Epimetheus, and Menedus. But Prometheus was different from his kin. While most Titans were associated with raw power and chaos, Prometheus was known for his mind. His name itself means forethought. He could see ahead, he could plan, and above all, he could care. When the great war between the Titans and the Olympians, the Titanomachy, shook the cosmos, Prometheus sided not with his own kind, but with Zeus. He saw the future and believed that the younger gods would build a better world. And for his loyalty, Zeus rewarded him for a time. But Prometheus's heart remained with someone else, not with the gods, but with the new creatures who had just entered the world, humans. In the myths, humans were fragile and unfinished. They had no fur to keep warm, no claws to hunt, no wings to escape danger. They were soft and mortal, and to many gods, they were little more than toys or accidents. But Prometheus saw potential. He saw creativity, curiosity, and a hunger for meaning, and he believed they deserved more. He shaped humans out of clay, sculpting them in the image of the gods themselves. And when Zeus decreed that mankind should live without power, without comfort, without fire, Prometheus began to question the king of Olympus. This was no small thing. To challenge Zeus was to challenge the order of the universe. But Prometheus had made his choice. He would stand with humanity, no matter the cost. The creation of humans. Fragile figures of clay. In the early days of the world, before cities and kingdoms, the earth was still wild and untamed. The gods walked among mountains and oceans, shaping rivers and carving valleys. It was in this young world that Prometheus knelt beside a stream, collecting clay with his hands. Carefully, patiently, he molded the first humans, not as beasts or monsters, but as small reflections of the divine. He shaped their arms and legs, their fingers and eyes. He breathed life into them, and they began to move, to speak, to wonder. But they were weak. They had no weapons, no warmth, no shelter. They trembled in the cold nights, unable to protect themselves from wild animals or storms. They lived in darkness, not just in their caves, but in their understanding of the world. They feared thunder, they feared the sky, they feared death, and they had no way to defend themselves. Prometheus watched. He watched as his fragile creations struggled to survive, and he knew something was missing, something vital. The other gods laughed. To them, humans were a brief distraction, a failed experiment. But to Prometheus, they were the future. He taught them what he could: how to use tools, how to farm the land, how to speak and remember. He gave them knowledge, a light in their minds, even if they still lived in the dark. But still, they shivered. Because one thing remained forbidden: fire. Fire was power. Fire was divine. Fire belonged only to the gods, and Zeus had made it clear it was not to be shared with mankind. Prometheus disagreed, and slowly the idea of rebellion began to grow. Theft of fire, a spark of rebellion. One evening, as twilight fell across the mountains of Olympus, Prometheus looked down upon the earth. In the valleys below, humans huddled together in the cold and dark. Their eyes flickered with longing, their bodies trembled in the wind. They were alive, but only just. And high above them, in the halls of the gods, the sacred fire burned, warm, golden, eternal. It danced in braziers of gold. It flickered in the hands of gods. It powered their feasts, their weapons, their glory. Prometheus made a decision. One night, he climbed the path to the heavens. Silently, he approached the forge of Hephaestus, god of fire and metalwork, where divine flames roared hotter than any sun. There, Prometheus found a single burning ember, no larger than a seed, and placed it inside a hollow stalk of fennel. He carried it down from Olympus, hidden like a precious secret. And when he returned to the world of men, he gave them the flame. The moment fire touched the earth, everything changed. It crackled and sparked in the night, driving away darkness. It gave warmth, cooked food, hardened tools. But more than that, it gave humans control over nature, over time, over fate. They could now survive. They could now dream. And Zeus was furious. Fire had been the privilege of the gods. To give it to mortals was an insult, a theft, an unforgivable rebellion. In a single act, Prometheus had elevated mankind and defied Olympus. Zeus, the king of the gods, did not take betrayal lightly. He called the council of Olympus, thunder rumbling in his voice. "This Titan has overstepped his place. He has given power to the unworthy. He has challenged my will." And so, Zeus prepared his punishment, not just for Prometheus, but for humanity itself. One act of compassion had sparked a war of principles, and the price was yet to come. Pandora, the gift and the curse. Zeus, though enraged at Prometheus, chose not to strike the Titan down immediately. Instead, he devised a more clever form of revenge, one that would wound Prometheus through the very creatures he had sought to protect. If Prometheus had given mankind a gift, then Zeus would give them one too. He ordered Hephaestus to mold a new being out of clay, not like the men Prometheus had shaped, but something different, something beautiful, irresistible, and dangerous. She was the first woman. The gods called her Pandora, which means all gifted. Each deity gave her something: beauty, grace, charm, music, curiosity, and also secrets, desire, and deceit. Zeus gave her a sealed jar, some say a box, and told her never to open it. Then he sent her down to earth as a gift for Epimetheus, Prometheus's brother. Despite Prometheus's warnings, Epimetheus accepted her. She was enchanting. Her voice was soft, her eyes deep, her smile unknowable. But curiosity is a powerful force, especially when it is placed by the gods. One day, unable to resist the pull of the forbidden, Pandora opened the jar, and from it spilled every sorrow the world had never known. Sickness, hunger, war, aging, pain, death. The sky darkened, and the air filled with cries. What was once a world of innocence became a world of struggle. Terrified, Pandora slammed the lid shut, but it was too late. Everything had escaped, everything except one thing that remained inside: hope. Some say that hope was trapped. Others believe it was protected, kept safe until humanity was ready to find it again. In either case, Zeus's revenge was complete. Mankind now had fire, but it came with suffering. With knowledge came burden. With power came consequence. And still, one punishment remained. The one meant not for humans, but for the Titan who had started it all.
The punishment of Prometheus. Bound to the mountain, Zeus's anger toward Prometheus had not cooled. He had punished humanity, yes. But the true act of rebellion, the theft of divine fire, could not go unanswered. Prometheus had stood against the king of the gods. He had disobeyed. He had chosen mortals over immortals. And so Zeus devised a punishment, not just of pain, but of eternity. He ordered that Prometheus be taken to the far reaches of the world, beyond Olympus, beyond the cities of men, to the lonely peaks of the Caucasus Mountains. There, high above the clouds, where the wind howled and the snow never melted, Hephaestus and his servants chained Prometheus to the rock. Forged of unbreakable adamantine, the shackles bit into his wrists and ankles, and then Zeus sent his final torment, an eagle, vast and monstrous, with wings like thunderclouds and talons like spears. Every day the eagle came, and every day it tore open Prometheus's side and devoured his liver. A cruel choice, for the liver, in ancient belief, was the seat of emotion and soul. Each night as darkness returned, the Titan's body healed, and each morning the eagle returned again day after day, year after year, century after century. Prometheus did not scream, he did not beg, he endured. Chained to the mountain, exposed to the elements, he remained silent, a silent witness to the cost of compassion. Some say Zeus wanted him to recant, to admit he was wrong, but Prometheus never bowed, not once. In his suffering, he became something more than a rebel. He became a symbol of sacrifice, of resistance, of belief in the potential of mankind, even when the gods themselves turned away.
Release and redemption. A spark that survived. Generations of humans lived and died. Kingdoms rose and fell. The fire Prometheus had given them spread across the world, warming homes, forging tools, guiding ships, inspiring art, science, and dreams. And still, on the cold mountain, Prometheus endured. But even gods can change, and even punishment can end. It was not Zeus, but another, a new kind of hero who finally came to the Titan's aid. Heracles, the mighty son of Zeus and a mortal woman. As part of his great labors, Heracles climbed the Caucasus Mountains and saw the chained figure in the distance, unmoving, gaunt, yet still unbroken. With a bow forged by pain and strength, Heracles took aim. He struck the eagle through the heart, and the beast fell from the sky. With a swing of his axe, he shattered the chains that had bound Prometheus for thousands of years. And for the first time in ages, Prometheus stood free. Zeus, seeing the heroism of his son and the persistence of the Titan, allowed Prometheus to go, not as a defeated rebel, but as a wiser spirit. He did not return to Olympus. Instead, he wandered the world in silence, watching the flickering firelight in human homes. And perhaps, somewhere deep inside, he smiled, because humanity had not forgotten. They had survived. Closing reflections, the meaning of fire. The story of Prometheus is not just a myth from the past. It is a story we carry within us. It reminds us that knowledge is not given, it is taken. That progress often comes at a cost, and that compassion, even in defiance, can shape the world more than power ever could. The fire Prometheus gave us still burns, not only in hearths and machines, but in our minds, our questions, our dreams. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, remember the Titan on the mountain and the spark he gave to the world. The gods may live in the sky, but the fire lives in you.